It's a long, long road to get from the beginning of a pathway to the end. My pathway is leadership development, and a lot came about over the period of a few years, actually. Sometimes what we say at our meetings is Toastmasters, where leaders are made. We don't say that all the time, but that is something we sometimes say. And that is because many people join Toastmasters because they want to become leaders. Why? Because leaders are change agents. They bring about a better future. They make it possible for society to move forward. It's an honor to be a leader, but leaders are not born. They have to learn their skills. And I, as a person who has been a leader for a number of years, was no different. I still had a lot of skills to learn. What were my goals? Well, let's break it down. In joining Toastmasters itself, it was about speaking extemporaneously. Because although I speak a lot, when I have to raise my hand at a large meeting filled with people that I'm a little intimidated by, I get nervous. And so joining Toastmasters was a way of getting over that, and it was extremely successful. I love the way our meetings, in fact, require us to speak extemporaneously, even in our prepared speeches, but for sure in every other role. When I selected the leadership development path, I was looking for a deeper dive. I, for example, wanted to talk about the pace of change. Leaders make changes, but how fast can you bring about change? And I wanted to talk about the different kinds of people you will encounter. Also, I wanted to learn about dealing with conflict, finding and grooming a successor. Unfortunately, although some of these topics were in fact addressed, they didn't go into enough detail for me to really learn, I'm sorry to say. But what areas did I grow in? I learned to classify myself, and I learned to classify others. I can tell you when I'm looking at someone on TV what kind of leader they are. And I learned to separate the different elements of my own leadership persona. I also learned to adjust my leadership focus, learning that, look, any progress is better than no progress, and be satisfied if something good came about. And last but not least, I learned a lot about the Pathways website. Here's a list of the different leadership styles that Pathways wants me to know about. It turns out I'm all of them, except the very last one, which is bureaucratic. I'm not particularly stringent about enforcing rules. Let's go over them very quickly. The altruist wants to lead to help others, get consensus, personalizes to individuals. The democratic leader allows others to take the lead and encourages collaboration. The innovative leader is looking for creativity. Affiliative emphasizes teamwork and harmony within the group. Authoritative is the one who sees the mission ahead, sets very high standards, and communicates that to the others. Coaching, looking at all the individuals in the group, mentoring those individuals and helping them build skills. Pace setting, let's keep moving, let's be productive, let's make sure we don't get stuck on small things. What about my leadership skill? Well, ultimately, it comes down to being a teacher. That's who I am, and it's who I've always been. And it turns out that teachers are leaders too, because they're standing in front of a classroom and they're leading a group of students, taking them from where they are to where they need to be by the end of the course. So here we are, let's break it down. I lead in order to serve others. That makes me altruistic. I hold the creative vision. That's innovative. I have high standards for integrity and performance, authoritative. In fact, the last three are also authoritative, setting a clear direction, communicating goals, and keeping the team focused, all authoritative. Well, let's keep going. I also create an organized structure with a timeline and priorities. Two different types of leaders here, pace setting and authoritative. The next one is almost funny because there's 4 different types I am, because I encourage innovation, coordination, communication, and consensus. That means I'm innovative, affiliative, democratic, and altruistic. I try to listen more than talk. That makes me democratic, as does letting other people take the lead. And I try to create a positive group culture. And where possible, I try to avoid conflict, and that makes me affiliative. When it comes to working with individuals, I'm the mentor. I love working with individuals, and I like to encourage people to build skills and be creative. And I want a high level of personal gratification. I want people to be happy they tried. Now, let's take a deep dive into the pathway itself. What did they ask of me? On level 1, I had 4 speeches: the icebreaker, writing a speech with purpose, vocal variety, and body language, evaluation, and feedback. You will recognize this as something that appears, I think, on level 1 in virtually every pathway. And what you have here is an opportunity to give a generic speech, really. There isn't anything about leadership specifically here. You can see what I chose to talk about: my family of origin, talked about resilience when needing a speech on purpose, sun protection for body language and vocal variety, and I talked about one of the organizations that I'm very active with, which is Yadud of Greater Washington, for my evaluation and feedback. On level 2, we do have stuff related to leadership. Here, managing time, I took the opportunity to learn about different kinds of time management techniques. Understanding your leadership style, you just saw. Those are the different styles that they offer as possibilities for people who haven't yet been leaders. And introduction to mentoring. Here, I did something about being mentored rather than being a mentor. I talked about my own mother. On level 3, here we had an interesting combination of stuff related to leadership and other. And I did these out of order. That's another point here. You don't have to always do things in order for pathways. I went straight to level 3, I think, but right in the middle of level 1, when I did the Kristallnacht program as my programming. It was actually during COVID, the Kristallnacht program 2020. 4 electives, delivering social speeches, focusing on the positive, using presentation software, and inspiring your audience. These are all characteristics of skills that you really do need in order to be an effective leader. For level 4, some of you will remember leading your team, the Word of the Day contest, which we did when Andy was last president, and it was really nice. The team actually was all of you. We worked together as a team to figure out how to put together this contest, and then we were the contestants. Our final level here, which is level 5, was primarily related to making sure I got it all. So the successful event I did was another Holocaust-related event, which is the 2025 Yom HaShoah program, as I think I've mentioned to you on several occasions. I myself am a child of Holocaust survivors, and I have been the chair of the Holocaust Committee for a number of years, running 2 programs a year. So I did one of the successful event was the program, and then I took the elective leading your volunteer organization, being the Holocaust Committee itself. From there, I was then asked to finish off with a 360 evaluation, and I had 4 members of our club, and actually 3 members of the club and the rabbi of the synagogue evaluating me on being the chair of the Holocaust Committee, and creating a successful succession plan, which is ideal, and I really hope it one day happens. Okay, I wanted to point out that I agree with Andy, who did this speech a couple of weeks ago. There are some issues with what we see here with the pathways programming. Some of the projects are very generic, and it's quite easy to fulfill in ways unrelated to your actual pathway. The higher levels are projects rather than speeches. So the speeches are basically very short summaries of the actual projects. It doesn't really do justice to those projects, which are actually frequently take months to do. And unfortunately, there's really no quality control of the experiences or the speeches. So you get credit for trying. It's nice, but it would be really great if there was a way to figure out how to have more quality control. Now, I want to just give you, just for the sake of it, some general Toastmasters takeaways. Things that everybody has asked me who I've ever mentored in Toastmasters. It's like, what are you going to learn when you're in Toastmasters? This is what I would say. It boils down to that you have to tailor the message to whomever it is you're talking to, rather. You have to know your audience. That's what we call audience awareness. You think about who they are. How do I connect with them? What is their starting point? How much knowledge do they have about this topic before I even begin? And then how will they remember it best? Should I make it funny? Show pictures, slogans? And also make it look natural. Talk. Just talk. Don't think about who you are. Just think about who they are. And then prepare in order to look natural. Know your speech location enough so that you aren't nervous going there. Start with an interesting premise and with a meaningful statement. We call that introduction and conclusion. Smile. Make eye contact. Use vocal variety, hand gestures and vocal and body language. Walk around and have a good time. Andy's important message, I could not agree more. Best way to end, you get out of it what you put into it. I want to thank you all, Kemp Toastmasters, for helping me travel the leadership development pathway. Thank you.